Okay, so hi everyone. We'll just get started now. So welcome to the MYOB Digital Challenge Intro Night for 2023. So just to note, this session will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube later this week. And at the end of the session, we will have you'll have an opportunity to win a $50 Uber Eats voucher. My name is Matt, and I'm here with Grace. We're the organizing committee for 2023 from the University of Auckland Case Club. So tonight we'll go over some general information about the competition, tips and tricks on how to come up with your solution and present it, and as well as answer any questions you might have about the comp. So first off, I'd like to introduce Shailin Patel, the education manager from MYOB, to talk a little bit about MYOB.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt and Grace, and great to see 50-odd students on the call. So my name is Shailin. I'm the education manager, as Matt mentioned, and we've been working with the University of Auckland Case Club since 2015. So this is the 9th edition of the MYOB Digital Challenge. Previously, when we started with the Management Consulting Club, as UACC would know back then, it was the MYOB IT Challenge, and it started off as Auckland University competition in 2015. In 2016, we took it national across New Zealand. 2019, we had our first team from Australia, team from Melbourne join us. And then in 2020 with COVID, it was the perfect opportunity to take the competition online and open it up to all university students across Australia and New Zealand. So in that time, in the 9 years that we've been running the competition, I think we've given over $60,000 worth of prize money, and including this year, we'll have over 2,000 students enter to participate. So a really good initiative and a strong partnership with the Case Club to bring this opportunity to you guys. In terms of MYOB, we are a business management platform and have been around for over 30 years. Matt, if you can just jump to the next slide, please. And many of you will probably know us as an accounting software company. So we are evolving from that to a business management platform. And for those of you that have seen the case already, you will see it's very much focused on the 6 key workflows that are on the screen now that our platform can help any business tackle. So there's a number of tasks within each of these workflows. And what we now have is a platform that allows businesses to manage these key workflows and all the tasks that come with them on the one platform. And a business will essentially just pay for what they need to use from it. So for example, if you don't have any employees, then obviously you won't necessarily need to use the payroll or the leave management function that the platform offers. And so a really good opportunity in terms of the case is understanding how businesses operate, the workflows that they have, what it means, obviously in terms of your customers, supply chain, finances, etc. How we operate within that. And then obviously the challenge that we have put to you guys, utilizing artificial intelligence, a very hot topic to help tackle some of the pain points that a business may have with one of these key workflows. And my, the first tip off for tonight is obviously read the case, reread the case. I've got some notifications that people have been joining the mentoring call that we have on Thursday. And so again, good reminder to everyone to follow the case and obviously make sure you're in the right place at the right time. And I'll be around obviously to answer any questions, but a bit about MYOB and obviously a bit of history in terms of this competition that we've been running for many years now.
Yes, thank you so much, Shailin, for that overview. Now I'll be going into the format of the competition. There will be 2 prelim regional rounds, one for New Zealand and one for Australia. And then the top 3 teams from each region will be going to the Trans-Tasman final. Something important to note between the difference between these 2 rounds is that a working prototype isn't needed for the prelim round. However, you are encouraged to go out and explore solutions and find new ideas and mention what you will do if you do make it through to the final. Next slide. To give a high-level overview of how the regional round of the competition will be run this year, those participating will be in a team of 2 to 4, whether you enter as a team or if you're an individual that is being put into a team. All registered teams will have already received a case outlining the context of the problem that the team will then solve. But since registration is still closed on the 28th, so you still have time to register if you haven't already, you will get a case once you're put into a team, which will happen tomorrow. So don't stress if you don't have it and you just registered in the last couple of hours, which I see a few teams have. So thank you so much for that. Then to be considered for the final, teams need to create a submission. This includes a 5 to 10 minute video pitch and a 1-page executive summary about the team solution. This 1-page executive summary should really only be a page, so don't overthink it, and it should just quickly summarize at a snapshot what your solution is and how you've solved a problem in one of the key workflows Shailin was talking about. Finally, the judges will mark the submissions and choose the top 3 from each region to move forward to the final. And final will be held virtually on Zoom, so super easy.
So here's a timeline of all the key dates in the competition. It is important to note that you have 1 week to complete your prelim submission, which is due the 5th of July. You're more than welcome to take a screenshot of this page, but all these dates are included in the case. So here, the 6 teams that get into the final will be notified on the 12th of July and will have 1 week to adapt their solution into a 10-minute pitch, including a prototype. During this time, finalists will have access to mentorship from MYOB to assist in the creation of their final pitch. Then on July 20th, finalists will present their solution in a 10-minute presentation and 10-minute Q&A format to a panel of MYOB judges via Zoom, and you'll find out the results on the same day. So you might be thinking, why should I take part? Well, participating will give you the opportunity to practice and develop your business skills, technical presentation, and teamwork skills as well. In order to solve the case, you will have to think from a commercial perspective, understanding both market and customer. You'll also have to work as a team to pitch to a panel of professionals and build a prototype solution. Because of this format of the competition, you'll also come away with a video to show future employers. Finally, you'll learn about being agile. In real life, the most important skill is to be adaptable and work in a team, especially for those who entered as an individual as a great opportunity to meet new people and develop communication across a new team. But don't just take my word for how valuable the competition can be. We have last year's winners here to share their experiences. So I'd like to invite the 2022 winning team to speak about their experience and answer some questions about how they found the competition. So I'll hand it over to them to introduce themselves.
That was a smooth segue, thank you. I'll just share my screen if I can. Yep. One second. Okay, cool. Can you see those slides?
Yeah.
Sweet. So I just have a few slides. First of all, hello, my name is Sam. I'm part of Team SVSM, who were the winners from last year. I'm joined tonight by Samanth. However, Ritam and Sumuka unfortunately couldn't make it. So just a bit of background, I did civil engineering at uni. I finished up last year and I'm now doing a graduate program at Auckland Transport. Rita and Sumika, who couldn't make it, they both did mechatronics engineering, but I'll let Samantha briefly introduce himself.
Great, thanks, Sam. Hey everyone, my name is Samantha. I did stats and physiology at university. I graduated last year, now working for a management consulting firm called Nous Group here in Australia. So I believe Sam's got a few slides to talk to.
Yep. Sweet. So just a bit of background on the case we had. It was all about digitization for business processes. Specifically, we were given a list of 6 processes to look at and had to choose one from there where we identify a pain point. For us, we chose to look at the point of sale. So the point of transaction when a customer is making a purchase. And specifically, when thinking of our solution, we sort of thought about the initial scenario of when you walk down the road to a store and you forget to bring your wallet and you're stuck with your phone expecting them to have PayWave basically. And not every merchant has PayWave. So that sort of spurred our thinking of what line we wanted to go down. Basically, our solution was to come up with an app that you could download on a smartphone, which would turn your mobile phone into an FPOS terminal for contactless payments. To sort of cut away at that barrier of the cost of an FPOS machine. And we also had another angle, which was providing sort of sales analytics, which was part of the solution that we sort of progressively worked on later on in the competition. In terms of the skills we got from this, there is a bit of overlap with what Matt covered, but I think first and foremost, the soft skills were the main takeaway for me. So in terms of presentation and public speaking, that was a big thing. And certainly already like straight after the competition and various papers I was doing at uni, it helped a lot just frankly with like making slides and learning how to speak. Teamwork's obviously a big one, especially with the time pressure you're under and the other assignments and other things you have on in your life that you need to balance. You really do need to be able to allocate tasks to your team and make sure everyone's on top of things. And lastly, the technical skills is one as well. For me, I was focused a bit more on like market research and the business side of things. But certainly with the making of the prototype that happened towards the finals, that was something which benefited some of our team members. Before I give any advice, I will pass on to Samantha though, just to talk about his general experience and also to give some advice.
Awesome, thanks, Sam. Yeah, so there's nothing really new here that Sam really hasn't talked about, but what I would say is definitely understand your team, understand sort of what their strengths and weaknesses are. And especially for me, coming from a stats and sort of science background, I knew nothing about consulting. So sort of doing these competitions is sort of where I am today and really helped me understand how to sort of work through cases. I would say keep it simple and keep it real. So try and really focus on an actual problem rather than creating problems to solve. So for us, it was just very simple. Like when we would go out, like Sam said, and there'd be a small dairy, we couldn't really use our like Apple Pay. So that's sort of where we saw a real struggle. And then when this case came out, we saw that this could be sort of integrated within that. Also use your time wisely with Shailan and also the stakeholders that you get further on in the competition, because for us, we initially created a very simple sort of terminal FPOS was the way to go. And then once we had these meetings, we realized that we could also add some sort of data tool and sort of have a two-headed solution. So definitely take out time when you're talking to these experts. But most of all, I think have fun and learn as much as you can, because even if you don't sort of place, you've got all these skills. Personally, for me, this is the first time I learned how to make a wireframe or learned about how cloud computing works or how sort of all the tech stuff works that wasn't taught in my courses. So yeah, I think that would be my key takeaway from this.
Yeah, pretty similar thoughts. Just one thing I'd add on is, make sure that the problem you're solving is one that is kind of interesting to your team. We initially were looking at payroll systems and it just wasn't really clicking with us. But it was when we switched topics and then built on that we were able to sort of like find the passion to continue. And lastly, just like if you're on the fence about signing up, or you hear the word generative AI and you get scared, don't worry about it. Everyone's in the same boat and you'll learn as you go. And if you do give it a go and you do well, then you get some money from it, which is pretty cool. So yeah, have fun.
I will add one last thing, is that this is a pretty cool case considering the extensive use of AI that people are using, especially in consulting. I don't know if I could say this or not, but most of the industry now uses chat GPT. So this is sort of great to sort of realize how you can use it next year when you guys are sort of graduating and finding jobs. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Sorry, we're open to questions.
Oh yeah.
How much, like, I know this is very specific to the work that you're doing, but how much time do you guys see yourself putting into it, just so my team knows what we are up against and how to allocate tasks and stuff?
I don't know if I can give like a specific figure. In the first round, when you're just making that video and coming up with the general proof of concept, that takes a bit less time once you've sort of settled on an idea. You just have to sort of make the slides and go through with the video. I will say in the second stage, it does take a little bit longer just making the prototype and everything. From our team, Reetum in particular, spent quite a bit of time on that. And definitely if you have other assignments and stuff, like that is something to factor in. It is doable, but just maybe have a look at your schedule and see how much stuff you have on during this sort of period.
Yep, thank you.
Feel free to put questions in the chat as well. If you don't want to speak up, that is completely okay.
Hi, I actually have a question. So I was just wondering, what's your biggest challenges that you guys have faced through this MYOB challenge?
Sure, I can take. Sam, do you want to take it?
Sure. You're good.
Cool. I think the biggest one, especially for me, was just time management. And most of us being in our final years last year was just a lot of assignments piling up. And with the case and not really having that much exposure to payroll management systems or anything like that, it was first you had to learn about it and then you had to sort of think creatively on how to solve it. So a good thing that we probably didn't do as much would be to divvy up tasks earlier on and sort of stick to it. And sort of really manage your time wisely instead of just going down a hole that might really not be as useful. So like, for example, initially, I think as mentioned before, you have like an initial round where you submit your case. We put a lot of extra detail into things that probably would not have been needed. So I would say go wide initially rather than deep, because you'll have time to go deep later once you get to the next round.
I see. Thank you so much.
There is a question from Beth. So it's about when you'll be placed into a team if you're an individual. So we have already been doing some placings in the past half a week. So we sent out the first round of team allocation emails yesterday, and we've done another round today around 12. So if you signed up later than 12, you'll be given a team in the next round of team allocations, which me and Matt will do on Wednesday. Any more questions, or should we get on to the next part?
Hey, I had a little question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
First of all, congratulations for winning the previous year's challenge. My question is, what are the most common tools that it helped you guys to maintain the teamwork? Like, did you use Slack or did you use Trello? What software did you use to record your videos and things like so on and so forth? What tools would you recommend us to use?
Yep. So In terms of making the videos and stuff, to be honest, we just like did a Zoom call and recorded that while one of us was sharing the screen. In terms of the presentation itself, do put effort into the slides. Personally, we chose to use, well, invest in Canva Premium to make the slides just because, I don't know, you can make it look a bit nicer than if you just use PowerPoint. Samantha, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, same thing. I think I was just going to say a really good idea to invest in Canva Pro. Really helped us, and you can collaborate as well in like real time. But I think in terms of workflows, nothing too fancy. We just sort of had, did we have a doc, Sam?
Yeah, we probably just had like a shared Google Doc or something.
Getting on like a Google Doc or having like a sheets that you can all sort of update your work on, or even as simple as like a messenger chat. So nothing too sort of complex, but I think Canva was a really good thing that we used.
I'll just jump in there before we get to the next questions with regards to, look, and, you know, the guys have said, you know, we've put on there, use Zoom. Like, we're not expecting Steven Spielberg type movies for your 5-minute pitch, right? Obviously, they use Canva, great. But again, you know, PowerPoint will do. And I appreciate that Canva is better in terms of that, but then it's your content. So Sam and Samant didn't win because they had a great Canva presentation. Obviously would help in terms of when they articulate the great solution that they had. So that's very important. And then, you know, even if I think about how me, Matt and Grace keep in touch instant, we just use Messenger, and then the guys will share the Google Docs with me, etc. So there's a lot of free, tools that you can use. And so, you know, we're not expecting you to go out there and purchase a whole host of stuff for this. If you want to, that's obviously completely up to you. But, you know, you should have access to some of the tools that you want to use for this. Yes, obviously try to make it as nice and pretty as you can. But ultimately, the judges will be looking at, the problem and then your solution for that. And I'll just take the one from Andy with regards to the app working prototype, and then I'll let Sam and Samantha also answer that one. In terms of the working prototype for that final stage, again, we're not expecting you to come up with the finished article. It's a sort of minimum viable product, a working prototype to show that the solution that you presented in the initial round is realistic, they can be built. So show the judges what that would look like. And again, it may be a particular part of the solution, because obviously in a week, you're not going to build out the whole, product. And so again, it really is showing the MYOB executives, and we'll have an external judge as well, right, we presented our problem, this is our solution, and this is how we can go about building it. And this is sort of a minimum viable product to show you those first steps, and then potentially what would be the next steps, etc. So don't get scared by the fact that we're asking you to build something, because we're not asking you to get on stage and show us, the next iPhone or something like that. It very much is a prototype, an MVP. I see there was a question before that, but Sam, Samantha, anything to add with regards to Andy's question on the working prototype? How do you guys approach that part of it?
Yeah, so I guess my first recommendation for that would be watch previous year's presentations and see what they did to get an idea of how in depth you need to go with that. I think for us, we literally just Googled for a free prototyping tool. I think the one we used was called Just in Mind or something.
If I'm not wrong, I think we used the free trial.
Oh, did we? Oh,
yeah,
okay, yeah.
which is fine, because it's that stage only came in the second part of the competition, so we had enough time. But I'm sure there's also free stuff out there that you can make wireframes and prototypes from.
Yeah. I guess I'll just quickly touch on the previous question as well about how unique our solution was. I guess the biggest thing there is just do your research. We sort of discovered from researching this that in New Zealand specifically, a solution along the lines of our product was kind of lacking at the time. And so that's kind of how we angled our presentation. It was all focusing on the New Zealand market initially and then expanding overseas. One piece of warning though, make sure you Google the name of your chosen solution, because we didn't do that before coming up with the name MyPOS. So yeah, do that. But yeah, just research, see what's in the market already. I will say, I think BNZ actually came up with a really similar solution to our products, like just after the competition. So maybe they had insiders or something, but yeah.
Do you want to take the next one, Sam? Are there any specific resources you recommended? I think not really.
I think the team, Samantha, in the presentation, there'll be a lot more resources that the team will be sharing with regards to what is a good case study and consultant solution. So don't worry too much about that. With regards to the MVP requires user authentication, does it have to be working? Just mock up. Now, you do have to show that it does work. And so some demonstration of that prototype is required in the final. And again, I think Sam just made a great point. There are the previous 3 finals on the YouTube channel. Now, we're not expecting you to watch all, sort of 3-4 hours of it. But what you can do is obviously just have a quick look at what was presented and then how in depth they went, and that will help you there. And then the last one I think is for you guys. There may be multiple pain points in a process. Did you consider any specific criteria when you select the pain point to tackle?
I think for us, it was just what relates to us the most, because when you put yourself in those shoes, you can sort of truly get an understanding instead of making something that we have no idea about, or sort of just came up with 1 or 2 problems that we might be able to create solutions with. So this is a problem that we actually faced, and it was quite annoying to us. So we thought, hey, this is something that we can actually sort of figure out, which might not happen all the time, but I feel like there's plenty of problems out there with I think you've got 6 streams that you can choose from. So I think there's plenty of problems out there that you can think of that relates to your day-to-day life. And if not, I reckon talk to your mates and ask about problems that they might have in their lives around all these issues, and maybe you can create solutions.
Yeah, basically what Samant said, like our solution was sort of driven by this initial concept of when you forget to bring your card and you just have your phone to rely on to pay with. So I think in that regard, it's useful to have either a scenario in your head or like a clear idea of who's being affected here and who the customer is. Yeah, I guess as we moved further, that's when we sort of broke down the actual problems and like the fees involved and stuff, and got more specific with exactly what we were addressing. But yeah, just useful to have like an initial scenario in your head.
I would say in your initial meeting, like, so this is what we did. We just all got on call and was literally just the 4 of us like throwing out really random ideas, and it was brainstorming just really silly ideas at first, and stuff that we thought was crazy. And then sort of from there, it sort of kind of twirled into what we thought might be good. So I think go wide initially before you go deep and get sort of in that rabbit hole, is what I would say. Hope that answers your question.
There'll be another chance for questions at the end. So I think we can move on to more about another question did come through. So does someone want to take that, and then we can get back to the presentation, and then there'll be another round of questions at the end.
Given that's the AI specific to the case, Mandy, we will come back to that.
Perfect. So thank you so much for sharing and answering those questions. It's definitely great to hear as someone newly coming into the competition to hear from someone who's already done it and has gone through all those hurdles themselves. But now I'll run through a couple of the elements that you'll need to case crack. First of all, identifying pain points. So before this, you'll need to choose one of the 6 workflows mentioned in the case, and then you'll have to identify the pain points. And the idea of this is to keep these simple and to make sure each pain point has a clear logic chain. So when considering pain points, it's really good to consider the relevancy, how important it is, and especially as the winners from last year said, how interested is your team in it? Because you need to be passionate about the pain point for it to really shine through in your executive summary and your 5 to 10 minute video. Next, after deciding your pain point, you need to come up with a solution. So start wide and then delve into it. So the first thing to do will be brainstorming. All of your bad ideas, all of your really good ideas can come out now. And with these ideas, make sure that they're creative, but still feasible. You want the judges from MYOB and those marking your submissions to see the product come to life and that it can actually be implemented. Creativity is very important. You could have a very solid strategy, but if it's generic, judges aren't going to be likely to choose it because they want to see something innovative or just something that they haven't seen before. But of course, your university students, as Charlene said, we're not expecting you to invent the new iPhone. And it's very important to make sure that the solution directly links to the business workflows and the pain points you've identified. This will make sure that your submission has a very clear logic chain and it tells a story, and that the markers will like to see that. Next, implementation. How will you implement your solution? For this step, we encourage you to consider both the business and technological aspects of your solution. For the prelim round, as you know, the solution doesn't need to be working. And if you're invited to finals, that's what the tutorial sessions are for. You can go in, talk with us, talk to people who work at MYOB to get a clear idea on how to do things. And there are so many resources online. And later in this tutorial, intro night, Matt will take you through some terms that you might not have heard of before. Lastly, providing an impact. This could include some common metrics such as profit, revenue, and market share, but make sure that you consider the full picture. So you might also want to talk about the value proposition that your product brings. Then on to presentation. It's really important that when you make slides, that everything that you put onto the slide is adding value. So as you can see in the next slide, it's very compact. You can barely see. You're not really encouraged to read the slide. There's just so much on it. So this is just way too much information. However, if you look at the next slide, which is an executive summary slide, it's very easy to read. It's very logical. It starts at the goal and it makes its way through to the impact. So although your solution won't exactly be like this, it clearly shows that, for instance, your pain points have been recognized as long as your workflow, and it leads to your solution and it has these impacts. So very logical like that. Looking at presentation tips, all that we can say is practice, practice, practice. And since it is an online submission, you have this unique opportunity to record your submission as many times as you want. So if you want to, like, do it 100 times, but avoid using cue cards and try not to read off the slides to make it more natural. And another important thing is if you get to finals, you have to do a 10-minute Q&A. So that could be easy enough of thinking of risks and mitigations ahead of time, or just getting your friends to listen to your 5 to 10 minute presentation and get them to ask questions and you answer it just like you would do in the finals. Lastly, you can find more resources on the website. But when you get your case, you get the case release email. These are the slide is in the supplementary materials that you've sent out. So have a look at this. Okay, now on to Matt, who will look at the technological requirements.
Thanks, Grace. So for those of you who have read the case already, you might have seen in the requirements that your solution must be a cloud solution and use AI. So for the prelim stage, again, this can all be conceptual. You don't need to build anything to show in your video. But yeah, if you make it to finals, you will need to develop a prototype to show how your solution would work. So for those of you who don't know anything about cloud or AI, this is just a quick breakdown on these terms, just to get you familiar with what these mean. So first off, cloud solution. So a cloud solution is a service that allows you to store and access your files and applications on the internet. So you can access them from anywhere with internet connection without worrying about physical storage or technical maintenance. So if you were to store your data locally, you would need physical machines, which can be pretty expensive. So an alternative to this is to use cloud providers such as Amazon AWS, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud Platform, who instead have their physical servers somewhere else, which you can access and use over the internet by hosting your applications through their service. For AI, artificial intelligence, here are some just basic definitions on the terminology from the case that you might not be familiar with. So generative AI, most of you are probably already familiar with ChatGPT, which uses generative AI. Generative AI is a field of artificial intelligence that encompasses various models capable of generating new content, such as images, text, or music, by learning from existing patterns and structures in training data. FM, or foundational models, are pre-trained language models designed to handle natural language processing tasks, which are like text classification, question answering, language models, summarization, translation, multiple choice, and text generation, by understanding and generating human-like text based on a given context. Transformers. So Transformers provides APIs and tools to easily download and train pre-trained models. Using pre-trained models can reduce your computation costs and save you time and resources required to train a model from scratch. And a pipeline is a function from a transformer that implements the pre-trained model. And so if I show an example of this, this is just a quick example that I made up using the Hugging Face website, which was provided in the case. So this example uses the Distill GP2 text generation model, which you can find just by searching on Hugging Face. And so to do this, I'm using Python on VS Code. And so I'm installing the Transformers library and writing my code in VS Code. So a guide on how to install this can be found through the Transformers quick tour link above from Hugging Face. So this code utilizes text generation from the Distill GPT-2 model to generate text to finish a sentence. So in this example, I used the text, "Hi, my name is," and as you can see from the output at the bottom of my terminal, it was generating two examples from this model. And there are a lot of other models on Hugging Face to play around with and give you an idea of how to implement AI into your solutions.
Before you continue, Matt and Grace, I think that might be a good, are you coming to the end anyway?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And so just go back to that previous slide, and this obviously ties in with Mandy's question as well. So we will be providing, for the 6 teams that make it through to the Trans-Tasman final, the top 3 in New Zealand and the top 3 in Australia, another document outlining what is expected. And so there will be further instructions with regards to that final building on the initial case. So Mandy, you asked about what you need to do, etc. You do need to build some sort of prototype, MVP, whatever you want to call it, demonstrate how you have used the technology and artificial intelligence for the workflow and the problem that you have identified. And obviously that's given a great example of that, but that will come in that second stage. And we will also provide further instructions in terms of what is expected for the 10-minute presentation and the 10-minute Q&A. So at the moment, I think just really read the case. Some of you already read it. Read it again, and even in for those that make it through to the final, the first line of that case is go and read the regional case again, because even if you made it through, there'll be things that you can build on from your initial solution and video and one-page summary. And so doing this for 9 years, we know that always look back and think, are we actually doing what is being asked of us? And I'll use the example when we first started, that there was a few people that joined the mentoring call link on Thursday instead of this link today. And that can happen. But again, just go back to what is being asked of us. So at the moment, we're not asking you to build anything. We're asking you to identify, pick one of the 6 workflows, identify a problem, come up with a solution for that. We need a video and we need a one-page summary. And then obviously do keep in mind that it has to be realistic. It has to be feasible to build, because if you make it through, then we want that. But we don't need you to build anything now. And then obviously take confidence from those that make it through to get to that stage. So hopefully it just gives some context to what Matt has showed, and then obviously Mandy's question, and I know there were some other questions with regards to this side of things. And I think a lot of teams can get, for want of a better word, scared, put off from the building part. But we've had a number of teams that are not doing computer science or software engineering, but have won this competition. The first competition that we ever ran in 2015, first years won it. So we've had a range of different people, students, disciplines, ages, year levels, all compete in this. And it's open to any discipline and any year. And even though initially we were looking at it to be a competition for those in their penultimate or final year, what we found is that obviously anyone can join up, and so then it doesn't necessarily matter. But very important is, what is the workflow, what is the problem, and what is your solution? And then obviously take care of the rest. But if you haven't got those 3 things initially worked out, then it doesn't matter if you can build it or not, or then what that looks like. Because what we always see as well, and what you don't want the judges to think is, hold on, what workflow are they solving? What is the problem? And what is the solution? And if they're asking those sort of questions without even going into your prototype, obviously in the final stage, or going deeper, then you haven't been able to articulate that. So it's very important that you do that. Before we open up to more questions, so we do have 2 mentoring calls later on this week on Thursday. And so they are drop-in sessions, open. You can stay and not ask any questions and listen to others, or just jump in, ask your question and jump out. 11 a.m. NZ, 9 a.m. AEST time, so Eastern Standard Time in Australia, and then 2 p.m. NZ and 12 p.m. noon Australian Eastern Standard Time. So you can join both, one of them, up to you. Just jump on, and then myself and a couple of colleagues that are judges for the regional round and have been for the last couple of years will be able to answer any other questions as you have been with the case for a couple of days.
Yeah, great. One other bit of business tonight is the Uber Eats vouchers. We are giving away 6 $50 Uber Eats vouchers, 3 to people in Australia and 3 to people in New Zealand. So please scan that QR code now and it will lead you to a Google form that you'll fill out. And once we have all the entries, we'll randomly choose the winners and we'll compare the winners to see if they're registered for the MYOB challenge, and then we'll send out the email. So keep your eye out on your emails to see if you won. Yeah, we'll just leave this slide up so everyone has time to scan.
Any other questions, queries? There are no stupid questions. Please do ask.
I think this is most specific to maybe like the competition organizers, but I'm trying to get in touch with my team and I'm not quite sure where that's going. So if I do have any issues, is there a possibility that I could be reallocated to another one within the 28th, like within tomorrow, like the time frame when the final teams are sorted? Because I'm trying to, there's no contact.
Yeah, so me and Matt are on the emails so frequently. So if there's any problems with getting in contact with your team members, feel free to email us and we'll just sort out the best course of action. And one of the possibilities is moving into another team, whether it's already been allocated or hasn't been allocated yet. So me and Matt will be there for anyone having any difficulties. So don't you worry about that.
All good. Thank you so much. That's really reassuring. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, then Matt or Grace, do you just want to put in your email into the chat? Please do get in touch with us, and we will help. And even after the mentoring calls, within the case, there are you can feel free to email us and ask any questions that you may have. So if it's something that we feel that you need to go and find out on your own, then we will tell you. But if it's saying logistical, etc., then we will obviously help you. And Beth, I know you did ask about the mentoring call. So I will put the information here so you can grab that as well off the chat for anyone who wants to, just in case. Any other questions, queries?
Okay, well, yes, if anyone else has any more questions, please email us. Our email is in the chat. It is itchallenge@uoacaseclub.co.nz. But otherwise, thank you all so much for attending. We will wrap it up here. So yes, thank you.
Thanks, team, and good luck.